The history of spices, the war, blood, and gold hidden in your kitchen there, was a time when a single nutmeg seed was considered one of the most valuable commodities on earth. Wars were fought over it. Thousands of lives were lost because of it. And a treaty involving a tiny spice island would eventually leave one of the world's most famous cities, Manhattan, in different hands. This isn't just a story about food. It's a story of greed, power, trade, and empire. It's the story of ordinary-looking spices that reshaped the course of world history. This is the history of spices. Today, when you sprinkle black pepper on your meal, stir cinnamon into your tea, or add cloves to a recipe, it's easy to think of them as ordinary kitchen ingredients. But thousands of years ago, these same spices were among the most precious treasures on earth. In ancient Egypt, spices were far more than flavoring. They were sacred. Cinnamon, cassia, myrrh, and other rare aromatics were brought from distant lands, so distant that traders often refused to reveal where they came from. To protect their profits, they spread extraordinary stories. They claimed giant birds guarded cinnamon forests. Others spoke of deadly serpents protecting spice groves. Whether true or not, these tales served one purpose: to keep competitors away and preserve the mystery surrounding the spice trade. The ancient Egyptians believed death was not an ending, but the beginning of another journey. That's why the bodies of pharaohs were carefully embalmed with fragrant resins and precious spices, preserving them for eternity and preparing them for the afterlife. To them, fragrance represented far more than perfume. It symbolized power, divinity, and immortality. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, the forests of India and present-day Indonesia were quietly producing black pepper, cloves, and nutmeg. No one could have imagined that these simple plants would one day drive nations to explore oceans, build empires, and wage brutal wars. As demand grew across Egypt, Rome, and Europe, every merchant who handled these spices increased their price. Little by little, spices became more than ingredients. They became symbols of wealth, prestige, and political power. By the height of the Roman Empire, black pepper was no longer just a seasoning. It had become a luxury reserved for the wealthy. The more pepper served at a banquet, the greater the host's status appeared. In 410 AD, the Visigoth king Alaric laid siege to Rome. The city was starving. Its people were desperate. According to historical accounts, Alaric demanded not only gold and silver as ransom, but nearly 3,000 pounds of black pepper. Rome paid. Imagine that for a moment. One of history's greatest empires was forced to surrender sacks of dried pepper to save its capital. That single event reveals just how valuable spices had become. Although educated Romans knew pepper came from India, most people never saw where it actually grew. Its trade remained largely in the hands of Arab and Indian merchants, whose vast commercial networks connected east and west for centuries. As time passed, Rome declined, but Europe's appetite for spices only grew stronger. Trade flowed from India and Southeast Asia through Arab merchants into Mediterranean ports. Cities like Venice and Genoa became enormously wealthy by controlling Europe's spice trade. Each new merchant added another markup. By the time pepper reached London or Paris, its value had multiplied many times over. Some spices became astonishingly expensive. Saffron could cost as much as a fine horse. A small quantity of cloves could equal months of a servant's wages. The wealthy didn't simply own spices. They locked them away in secure cabinets like precious jewels. Eventually, European rulers began asking an important question. Why keep paying enormous prices to middlemen? Why not sail directly to the source? That single question would change the course of history. In 1492, Christopher Columbus convinced the Spanish crown to finance a westward voyage, hoping to reach Asia's spice markets. Instead, he encountered a continent unknown to Europeans at the time. He never found the spices he sought, but he changed history forever. Just 6 years later, Vasco da Gama succeeded where others had failed. By sailing around Africa's southern tip, he reached India by sea, opening a direct maritime route to the spice trade. For Europe, everything changed. But the fiercest struggle was still to come. Far beyond India lay a small group of islands now known as the Banda Islands. At that time, they were virtually the world's only significant source of nutmeg. These tiny islands became some of the most valuable pieces of land on Earth. Many Europeans believed nutmeg could even protect them from deadly diseases like the plague. Its price soared. Its demand exploded. Soon, the Dutch East India Company arrived. It wasn't merely a trading company. It had its own army, its own navy, its own forts. It could wage war and negotiate treaties. Its mission was simple: control the world's nutmeg trade. In the early 17th century, Dutch forces seized the Banda Islands through overwhelming violence. Thousands of Bandanese were killed. Many were enslaved. Others were forced from their homeland. To maintain their monopoly, Dutch authorities destroyed nutmeg trees beyond their control, ensuring that only they could supply the world's most valuable spice. Then came another remarkable chapter. The English and the Dutch fought over a tiny island called Run. In 1667, the Treaty of Breda ended the dispute. The English surrendered Run Island. In return, the Dutch gave up New Amsterdam. Today, we know it as Manhattan. At the time, few could have imagined that the city being exchanged would one day become one of the world's greatest financial centers. Behind every spice route, however, lay a darker story. Colonial monopolies were enforced through violence, forced labor, and the destruction of local communities. The fortunes of European empires were built, in part, on the suffering of those who cultivated and harvested these valuable crops. Over time, monopolies collapsed. Spice plants spread across new regions. Agriculture improved. Global shipping expanded. The treasures once reserved for kings gradually became ordinary household items. Today, black pepper, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg are affordable almost everywhere. Yet centuries ago, these same spices inspired voyages across unknown oceans, fueled imperial rivalries, and changed the course of civilization. The next time you open your spice rack, take a closer look. That pepper once helped ransom Rome. That cinnamon inspired dangerous voyages into uncharted seas. And that pinch of nutmeg played a role in shaping the modern world. History isn't found only in castles or on battlefields. Sometimes, it's waiting quietly in your kitchen. And if this story surprised you, just imagine how many more extraordinary histories are hidden inside the food we eat every single day.